Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl, Shy Rosalind. Welcome to another episode, which I was not planning on, of It Happened One Night. We are discussing the church drama Follies. Yes, the church drama continues. And guess what? It involves New York real estate. Who'd have thought? Um, so, before we get into it, just a little bit of housekeeping. As usual, copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use. Tips the balance in favor of fair use. And as always, this presentation is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Respectful comments are always welcome. Likes are free. Sharing is caring. Subscribers are always appreciated. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is below. And if you are so inclined and you feel like throwing me a couple of bucks, that's fine. You don't have to. My Cash App is listed on the right of your screen. So, anyhow, this is an impromptu episode. I wasn't planning on it, but of course, I watched an episode of the St. James Show the other night. He had on a Bishop Jordan of Zoe Ministries, and they discussed an issue that has been happening um, with other churches apparently, and also happened to him with his church space. He was renting space to another pastor. Believe the man's name is Matthew Stevenson, and Matthew Stevenson done stopped paying rent and has apparently skipped out, but left his things there. So yeah. And so it's not only tenants, regular folks that have been skipping out on the rent. Apparently, there's some pastors allegedly that have been doing it also. Um, so I thought it was an interesting topic, and it is something I have personally not seen happen before. The churches in my hood basically keep their rent paid up, and when they can't pay in one place, they find another. Queens has a ton of churches, a whole lot of storefronts. Some last a year or two, some last 20, 30 years. And regarding churches and real estate, the church that comes to mind for me is the Greater Allen Cathedral. And they have had in the past successfully acquired quite a bit of real estate in the area of Queens they are in. Some of the buildings have been sold to city government. There's one, they had a school that they built, paid for, and is now owned and operated by a charter school, Eagle Academy for Young Boys, which is a very successful school from what I hear. They have had other buildings in the area. One has become a health center run by New York City, but it was originally Allen's building. And they had three senior living senior living apartments, three built high rise buildings. I believe those have been finally taken over by another nonprofit, but it has the Allen name on it, and I'm sure that some of the folks at Allen have had influence, and they're guiding whoever is now running the senior center. So it is possible for a church to have successfully maintained commercial property and commercial real estate, and a very smart investment in the community as well for the church itself. So, anyway, I just went off on a tangent. I'm so sorry. I have discussed this before, by the way, in a couple of my other videos. Feel free to watch about tithing and so on and so forth. But anyway, what I wanted to do, since the hot topic for the moment is 310 Riverside Drive, I wanted to give a little background about the building itself. And here we go. So it's called the Master Building, not to be confused with calling Bishop Jordan the Master Prophet. There is no relation between the names. The Master Building is a landmark co op residence situated at 310 Riverside Drive in New York City. That is 110th Street. It is towards the edge of Central Park. It is also near Riverside Park. It is also located close to St. John the Divine Cathedral. So it's a hoity toity neighborhood, and it offers a distinguished living experience. I would think so. Residents enjoy a variety of spacious, well appointed apartments featuring diverse layouts, sizes, and amenities. Full service building, of course. What else would it be? Boasts 24-hour concierge, dormant services, live in superintendent, central laundry facilities. I saw a picture of the laundry, y'all. It is to die for. Storage rentals, secure bike storage, and newly renovated hallways. And of course, it is on the Upper West Side. It places residents directly across from Riverside Park, close proximity to shopping, dining, entertainment options, express and local subway and bus lines. Let me tell you, the bus lines run way better up there than they do anywhere else. Local, walking distance of Central Park, and so on and so forth. And this is the building. I wish I could blow it up, but that was the clearest picture I could find. The Master Building was actually an artist hub. It was developed for artist Nicholas Rorich, if I'm saying it right, um, and his financial patron Louis Horch. It opened in 1929. The first three floors, the first three floors, would house the Master Institute of United Arts, which included the Rorich Museum, galleries, theater, conference rooms, and a restaurant. Now, my guess is I have never seen the inside of this building. I am simply guessing. And by the way, I am not in any way a real estate agent. I'm just pulling stuff from research, and I am also not an expert theologian. I leave that to the online theologians. I let them discuss the morality of it all. Well, I'm just presenting what I found. And so there was a museum, galleries, a theater, conference rooms, and a restaurant. My guess is, and as I said, I could be wrong, the space that was rented out to Matthew Stevenson was probably part of the museum. My guess, the gallery, the theater, the conference rooms were probably what was rented out to him. The restaurant, if the kitchen is still there and operating, maybe that was part of what Bishop Jordan was renting out as well. I don't know. I leave that to the experts. But that would be my guess. The building was converted into a co op in 1988. They shifted the focus of the building more from commercial to residential. Now, they have studios, one bedroom, two bedrooms, and I believe a penthouse or two. And as you can see in this picture, this is a studio. You are sleeping across from your refrigerator, yo. And guess what? This studio is $400,000. You have to buy it. And not only do you have to have the money, you have to be approved by the board. So get that. You're not even getting a bedroom, y'all. You're not even getting a bedroom, and you got to come up with $500,000 or thereabouts. And you're sleeping across from your refrigerator. Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, Upper West Side indeed. So the gist of the episode, and like I said, go to the St. James show and watch it. There was another content creator who he, as a funny aside note, there was another content creator who discussed the show and was reading, had a printed transcript of the show and was reading from the transcript. My guess is he didn't want to show any kind of clips. And hey, I'm all for reading from the transcript too. I've done it before for a couple of episodes of other things myself, but I kind of thought it was funny. I heard the pages flip, and I said to myself, "He's not reading, is he?" And I looked. I just happened to turn and look, and I realized he was reading from the transcript. Lord have mercy. But anyhow, I will leave the discussion of that part of things to the experts, but I thought it was hilarious myself. And folks, I guess people were triggered. Anyway, the gist of the story is that Zoe Ministries will agreed to rent to Matthew Stevenson. I'm from what was said, the meeting rooms and a space, a sanctuary space. I'm assuming that was probably originally part of the gallery and or the theater. This picture I took from Zoe Ministries website, just as an example of one of the meeting rooms. I believe there's definitely more than one. It looks like a well kept, relatively spacious meeting room. So that it actually looks pretty good, and you can see the chairs in the back, and it seemed to hold quite a few people. So okay, um, so he Bishop Jordan was charging 40,000 a month. Matthew Stevenson, according to Bishop Jordan, fell behind at some point and ended up in arrears for $500,000. Yeah, $500,000. So that's over a year behind on the rent. Matthew Stevenson, according to his flyer, he is now conducting services at a nightclub, or at least one service is going to be at a nightclub. I mentioned that for a reason. I'll get to it in a second. So, some folks are saying, 40,000 a month. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money, but you have to remember, one, it's in Manhattan. Two, it's in a the building, the master building is a landmark building, so there's only so much that can be done within a landmark building. Landmark buildings are always more expensive because of their status. I mean, you're down the street from St. John the Divine. You're pay that's what you're paying for. Um you're paying location, 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 as they say. So 40,000 a month, yeah, it's a lot of money. But believe it or not, it is a bargain. And I'll tell you why. I found this while I was doing my searches. I found there was one storefront near the master building. It was a storefront, first floor, and they wanted $43,000 a month with no amenities. Basically, it's an empty space and maybe a bathroom at the back. Then I did a little bit more searching, and I found this building. It's called the Interchurch Center, and it's 475 Riverside Drive, which is further up, but not that well. It's about, let's see, 310 to 475. It's probably maybe 9 blocks up, something like that. Well, anyway, it's in the vicinity. Now, this particular building is specifically for nonprofits, faith organizations, and I forget what else. But you have to be some kind of a nonprofit. They have several office spaces open available for rent. One of these that I found, you see the description. It's on the sixth floor. It's 21,000 square feet. It's $2.33 per square foot per month, which comes out to $48,939 and some change. Now, granted, it's a luxury office building. It's boasting that it has central air. It's partially built out. How many people can fit in there? And that's an office. Then they also offer a free conference space and event space up to 300 people. They have a cafeteria, they have catering available in the building, on-site management, which I would think they would have, free parking, and audio-visual equipment. So they offer those amenities, but the office space is not completely built out. So whoever rents the space is going to have to, figure out how to get it finished off and make it look nice and pretty. But it's $48,939.32 a month. Bishop Jordan's offer to Matthew Stevenson was a deal. It was a deal. He was getting a break. Because if he had tried to go and like I said, this particular building, the Interchurch Center, is geared towards nonprofits and faith-based services. So you could feasibly have your church office in this building and then have services depending on how they schedule it, but have services in the conference space. But you'd be paying almost 50,000 a month to stay in Manhattan. So there is a point to Bishop Jordan's um, theory or thesis that it's difficult to start a church in Manhattan. It is difficult to start a church in Manhattan. It is 50,000 a month. 50,000 a month. What startup church has 50,000 a month? I can't think of any. I mean, even the Greater Allen Cathedral started out in a little tiny little cathedral on Merritt Boulevard. It took them years to get the cathedral that they have now, and the school and the senior home. They did it. Don't get me wrong, they were able to do it, but it took them a while to do it. And I'm sure they did not start out paying 50,000 a month rent for the original the original church that they had. So Bishop Jordan had a point. It's not, if unless you find a church willing to rent space on certain days in Manhattan, it ain't gonna happen. You're gonna end up starting your church in Queens, maybe Brooklyn, maybe the Bronx. So the bigger question is, what happens when a church can't pay rent? Now, I've discussed this before in a previous episode um, of It Happened One Night, and I talk about tithing. And one of the things that I brought up and would apply here as well is the pastor's responsibility or the trustee board's responsibility. The pastor is responsible for being transparent and communicating with the congregation. I mean, you have to be able to let the congregation know, like, listen, we got to fry some fish, we got to cook some chicken, we got to sell some cakes. We need to raise some money and raise it quick. And if the church is in a position where, okay, you do have income coming in, whether it be, renting the church weddings, or renting out the church basement for a sweet 16 party, whatever, that money needs to be accounted for. So whether the trustee board gets a report from the accountant, and then they present something to the congregation, let them know, like, hey, this is what we raised from such and such and such and such and such and such, and this is kind of what we need. So, let's figure out what we're going to do. But that's the number one and number two thing we got to figure out. They have to figure out what to do. If you can't do that, if you can't do that, then don't have a church, y'all. Find something else to do, because it's not fair to the people who are following you, and it's not fair to the community that you're settling in. It is not right. So if you can't at a minimum let people know what was in the collection plate last week and what we have to pay for this week, don't be a pastor, don't have a church. Go do something else, and let these people find a church that can do that at the minimum. And then the other excuse me, the other topic that came up, oh, sorry folks, the other topic that came up is the brick and mortar church done? Personally, I don't think so. I think the brick and mortar church will still be around. Maybe not as many, but I don't think the brick and mortar church is going anywhere. I really don't think so. At the end of the day, people want somewhere to go and kneel down. They want an altar to kneel down at. They want somebody to walk up to them and lay hands on them and pray for them. That sense of community, that sense of you're walking in the church, and the usher with the white dress and the tights says good morning to you. People need that. Whether or not, yeah, you can go online, yes, you can do your Bible study online, but there's nothing like having that face to face. Now, there's some pastors that shouldn't be pastors. They're doing things the wrong way. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing to provide for the people. Maybe I'm old, but some of these pastors are not. They're more concerned with entertainment and getting the money than they are with being in the community. But that desire to have an altar to go pray to that's not in your house, to gather with other people, that's not going anywhere. So I don't think the brick and mortar church is truly done. I don't think so. But again, I'm not a theologian. I'm just a humble person traveling on these YouTube streets. A lapsed Congregationalist Catholic slash Episcopalian. Um, one of these days I'll settle on the church and go. Um, but yeah. What do I know? Um, but the, I really think that the brick and mortar church is going to stick around. I don't think it's going to completely disappear until Jesus comes back, whenever that is. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that either. But yeah, that this is just my little 2 cents, 2.5 cents worth, little background on what was being discussed last night. For those of you who didn't have any idea about this building, that's what the building is. Um, there's also an urban legend that um, that Reverend Ike. I don't know where that urban legend came from, but that Reverend Ike lived in that building. No, Reverend Ike did not live in that building. Reverend Ike's former church is up in Harlem. It's further up um, from the master building. It's still standing from what I could see, and I believe I might be wrong, but I think Reverend Ike's old church is still being used like for film festivals and stuff. I could be wrong, but Reverend Ike did not live at at Riverside Drive. I don't know where that urban legend came from. I saw it come across my screen. I'm like, no, wait, that doesn't sound right. So no, he did not live there. He did not live in New Jersey. Um, he actually no, I forget where they say he lived. He lived in Manhattan for a while, and then he got sick, and he moved out to California actually, and that's where Reverend Ike got sick and eventually succumbed. He had a stroke. So a little bit of everything today, but thank you for watching my little rant history lesson, however you want to call it. Don't forget to go outside, look at the sunshine, breathe a little bit, move around a little bit, get up from the computer and go do something, which I am about to do myself. Thank you for watching. Like I said, sharing is caring, likes are free, comments are always welcome, respectfully. And yeah, if you know, hit me with some questions, and if you want, and I'll see what I can do for you. But I hope everyone has a wonderful day, evening, however it could be. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Have a good one. Take care.